So yeah, what's going on? Welcome back to another video and all that. Just on a bit of COD 4, thought we'd talk about the new Charli XCX album, XCX6. So she, if you didn't know, did an interview with Faces magazine talking about her upcoming album. So she sort of gave a bit away what we might see in it. So I just thought we'd do a little video and talk about it. So yeah, today she tweeted, if you want context, read the interview. If you don't want context, just make up whatever you like and convince yourself it's the truth. It's 2024, who gives a fuck? So yeah, obviously from this, I feel like Charli's probably getting a bit of shit from people who are taking quotes out of it. I've seen a lot of quotes being tweeted by other people. So yeah, I thought we'd just like skim through and just read the parts of this article that I found like important. So yeah, we're not allowed to print the title of the forthcoming 6th album, no more than a couple of song titles, because Charli's particularly susceptible to leaks, so let's call it XCX6. Some of the tracks are called Naughty's Era Ministry of Sound compilations, The Annual, and Rihanna's 2010 masterpiece Loud. Its lyrics are shady, bratty, but tender and heartbreaking. Charli writes about herself, her friends, occasionally her rivals, with such openness it feels like you're listening to transcripts of iMessages. She said, "I'm prepared for people to think I'm a bitch, but I'm not that." Over this idea of metaphor and beauty and art, I just want directness from me. I just want things to feel quick, fast and dirty. Charli wants to make the opposite of the Prodigy's Smack Me Bitch Up video starring her it girlfriends. Someone knocks at the door. She runs, terrified that it's a neighbour complaining about the noise. The door closes. I heard a laugh from downstairs. It was a champagne delivery. Charli says, quote, "I kinda missed the time when pop music was really volatile and crazy. I miss the Paris Hilton days. Everybody is so worried about everything right now. How they're going to be perceived. If the art they've created is going to offend someone. It limits creative output thinking like that. I'm also just into this idea of lying all the time and being really truthful, but also lying. Fuck it." She said when talking about the previous album, Vanilla Palatable Flatness, "There is songs on Crash that I would never listen to. I needed to switch after Crash. I wasn't born to do radio liners. That's not who I am. I'm being a musician," Charli said. "It's fucking twisted and hard." She pondered on society's fascination with mean girls, inspired in part by Dasha Nevilovic, co-host of the controversial Red Scare, and by Charli's interest in why scrupulous-looking dead-eyed women like herself and her friend Gabrietti are often coded as mean. Growing up, Charli loved Lily Allen, who she says was outspoken and ran her mouth, and she had the songs to back it up. She was a fully formed, flawed person. She still finds that archetype attractive. I remember my dad saying, "You know, Charli, you should be like Tom Hanks. He has a reputation for being nice," she recalls. And I was like, yeah, but I don't think people think Tom Hanks is cool. Lead single from Dutch, produced by Speed Drive collaborator Easy Fun, is a perfect introduction to her angelic freewheeling new mode. The track is a throwback to Charli's teens when she was on MySpace and first began thinking my taste was cool. For XCX6, she, quote, "had to have this specific feeling or narrative ahead of time. Von Dutch, for example, was written about an object of gossip or obsession for people around you and embracing it. I was sharing my process with friends and people who don't make music, and we were becoming conversational, like things I would text people. It was beginning to feel gossipy in a fun way, so I went into it." XCX6 largely focuses on the friendships and rivalry as opposed to the traditional pop themes of romantic turmoil, partly because Charli's genuinely really nice and happy relationship with George, who co-produced a number of the tracks. The couple live together in Charli's place in LA and her flat in Hackney. It's only 5 doors down from his London home, which she insists is simply a convenience. Charli first realised she had feelings for George when she and the 1975 were touring in Australia in 2020, co-heading the Laneway Festival. I think Matty Healy suggested that George may have had a crush. I wasn't privy to that, she says. She says, quote, "I feel really inspired to be with someone who's unbelievably talented. That's really sexy to me." She says, quote, "When you're an artist, you can pretty much choose whether you want to be around people with big egos who are performing." She says, "But when you're in a relationship with another artist who's part of a band with quite, let's say, a controversial frontman, you suddenly don't get a choice whether you're subjecting yourself to somebody else's environment." So boom, we're gonna get to the juicy bit. Charli says unfollowing Rena, quote, "was a personal disagreement between friends, and it wasn't even a falling out, it was still good." She's quick to say that Rena never asked her to take sides, but she acknowledges that the Masters conversation annoyed me, and I told Rena. It's common for record labels to own artist masters which hold the copyrights to the original recordings of the music, but the subject has become a source of emotional charged discussion among fan bases, perhaps because of Taylor Swift's highly publicised dispute over the ownership of her 6 albums. But yeah, I still feel a bit suspect about that, to be honest, because like we haven't been, like, do you know what I mean, not told anything about our girl Rena, free Rena, do you know what I mean? But yeah, let's crack on. When Charli signed a 5-album deal with Atlantic age 16, she owned 15% of her masters, and the label took the rest. She said, quote, "I've been in a position for a long period where I didn't own a lot of the music I made, so it's hard for me to see that word, masters, being weaponized when it's not the case." She says of ownership setup, that's how it is, by large, standard industry practice. And yet, obviously, if you didn't know, after Crash, she's fulfilled that obligation, so she's now independent. But yeah, I think the point Rena was making was probably more so not the fact that somebody owned the masters, the fact that the person that owned the masters, ironically enough, was racist to Asian people, even though he owns the masters of an Asian woman. So I think possibly that's more what Rena was poking at, rather than somebody owning the masters. I think it's probably more to do with who owned the masters. I didn't see it bring it up before he said them things, so like, do you know what I mean? It's just a bit of a sticky one. I'd still say I'm probably on Rena's side on this one, and this is coming from a fucking Charli XCX stan, mate. So yeah, so she further elaborates on this, that she basically doesn't want this to be seen as she's the victim. She wasn't in no way backed into a corner. This was a decision to leave the record label. She says about the whole Taylor Swift situation, "Oh my god, they trapped her because they owned the masters." Like, yeah, they own my masters. That's the fucking record deal. That's what they're paying for. So yeah, to that, I think she has got a point there. Like, what these people like Taylor Swift don't have no right in saying it, really. Like, they signed the deal. So yeah, I do agree with that side, but I can also see where Rena's coming from when literally the fella who owns your masters is like just blatantly being racist. Like, I can see both sides here, but there's less sympathy for, say, the Taylor Swift and Rena, if you get me. So yeah, further reading into the article, one more song in the album is a naughty exploration of her grief about Sophie, who died in 2021, as we all know, from the tragic accident where she fell. Far from urology, it's a shame that Charli felt reflecting on their relationship. There was a lot of distance between us. I was in awe of her, wanted to impress her. She believed in me in ways that I didn't believe in myself, but I felt like I would never have been interested enough to operate in her world outside of the studio, in which the safe space where I could connect with her and bond over music. I didn't feel like I was magical enough for this unbelievably magic person, and it makes me ashamed now that I don't have the opportunity to experience that anymore. Because she's gone, I feel ashamed for being a coward. It's hard to write about. I'm sad for myself that I didn't get to experience all this person had to offer." Further, when talking about the album, she says, "I get tired of behaving in a way that people expect me, or expect pop stars to behave. I'm not a role model. I never did this because I wanted to be." She pauses, then offers a caveat, "But I understand it comes to the territory. I am a role model for a very flawed, genuine, real, non-perfect person, and that's all I'd ever want to be. I've always been very embarrassed by myself, like I'm the girl who's got a dress tucked into her knickers after she comes out the toilet." So yeah, pretty nice, you know what I mean, got filled in, got told what is. So I'm probably more excited for this album than I was for Crash. I think we all knew Crash was going to be the commercial one. I think this is going to be the magnum opus, so you can quote me on that. If the album's shit, blame me. So yeah, Go and pre-order it in a bit.